Please be seated. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So I think that this past week has been a very difficult week for all of us. It's been a week of tremendous heartbreak, a week of tremendous pain, and a week of realizations that life is fragile and that no one is exempt from tragedy and heartache. You know, we were on our way to leave Daniela at Stanford University, the new part of her journey, and I remember being at the airport and just reading all the notifications about the hostages and exactly what had happened. And I remember seeing for the first time the notice of Hirsch Goldberg's Poland funeral as published in the Israeli press. And you know, for somebody who sees a lot of death notices, I was really shaken up by this one because it had a couple of words in it that really shook me to my core. It said his name, and then it said, Yeled shel or ve'ahava, a child of light and love. And for some reason, personified by Hirsch, we as a people last week buried light and love. That's what we did. Yet again, we were confronted by the greatest evil that we ever thought possible could exist in the world. I want to share with you some of the words of Rachel Goldberg, Hirsch's mother, right at his gravesite at the moment of his funeral. Okay, sweet boy, go now on your journey. I hope it is as good as the trips you dreamed about. Because finally, my sweet boy, my sweet, sweet boy, finally, you're free. I will love you and I will miss you every single day for the rest of my life. And then she went on and she said the following. And at this time, I ask for your forgiveness. If I ever was impatient or insensitive to you during your life or neglected you in some way, I deeply and sincerely request your forgiveness. Hirsch, if there was something we could have done to save you and we didn't think of it, I beg your forgiveness. We tried so very hard, so deeply, and so desperately. I am sorry. Now, she wasn't the only one to ask for forgiveness from Hirsch. Yitzhak Herzog, the president of the State of Israel, also spoke at Hirsch's funeral. And here's part of what he said. Beloved Hirsch, with a torn and broken heart, I stand here today as the President of the State of Israel, bidding you farewell and asking for your forgiveness. From you and from Carmel, from Eden, from Almog, from Alex and Ori, and from all of your loved ones. I apologize on behalf of the State of Israel that failed to protect you in the terrible disaster of October 7th. That we failed to bring you home safely. I apologize that the country you immigrated to at the age of 7, wrapped in the Israeli flag, could not keep you safe. Rachel, John, dear Livy and Orly, grandparents and the whole family, I ask for your forgiveness. Forgiveness that we could not bring Hirsch back home alive. Your special light, Hirsch, captivated us all at first glance, even though the protest is crying out for his return. And then, that same day, in a press conference, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, 50 seconds into the press conference, apologized and asked for forgiveness from Hirsch and all of the families of the hostages for everything that could have been done and they didn't do and they didn't think of to bring them home. Now, certainly, there are cynics and critics who say, well, yeah, apologies are a dime a dozen and prayers and thoughts are a dime a dozen. and politicians, apologies means nothing. But if you've been watching what has been happening in the last year, for Benjamin Netanyahu to apologize takes a lot. His soul, as well as our soul, was completely broken. And there is no way on earth that we can understand what could possibly have been going through the heads of every single one of us, the feelings, the anguish. Now, on that day of apologies, there's a couple of things that actually were missing, apologies that were missing. For as much as we as a people apologized, a lot of others who should have apologized didn't apologize. In all of the statements released by the United States administration, there was no apology. Not even lip service. For a dual citizen, an American boy. Nothing to show that American lives cannot be just taken by terrorists. There was no apology for preventing Israel from entering Rafah when they should have entered Rafah, which could have actually saved this boy's life. There was no apology for not pressuring Qatar and threatening to withdraw our bases from Qatar. There was no apology for not threatening Turkey with sanctions. There was no apology for not threatening Lebanon and Egypt. All of those apologies were missing. And where is the apology for threatening Israel when Israel was trying to withhold aid from Hamas, who was stealing it? Where's the apology for all of those things that Israel was compelled to do because his country told Israel to do so? Where is the apology of the Red Cross? You know the Red Cross? That organization that was created precisely for this. For that organization whose Jewish blood doesn't matter. Where is their apology? They didn't even try to visit these hostages, to locate them. And the United Nations, where is their apology? The most anti-Semitic organization on the face of the earth that we found. Where is their apology? You know, they have in their lobby an exposition of terrorist acts and terror victims from around the world. Not a mention of October 7th. Where is the apology of all of the humanitarian organizations that cry out for everything that happens to the Palestinians, but couldn't care less about Jewish civilians murdered, shot in the back of the head? Where is the apology of the United Kingdom, our greatest ally, that hours after these hostages were murdered cowardly, withdrew permits to export weapons to Israel, licenses that they give to Israel every year so they can use their weapons? And last but not least, in my list of apologies that were missing, we never talk about this. Our neighbors to the north, Canada, it took them over 24 hours to condemn the murder of innocent hostages. I expect this from Mexico and Brazil and banana republics, but not from Canada, the United States, and the United Kingdom. And let's not even talk about the European countries. Where are their apologies? And where's the apology of a world that not even a century has passed from the greatest genocide we've ever seen, and they couldn't even care? They couldn't even care that after all these years, they still think that it's not okay for us to defend ourselves, that we have to ask for their permission. You know, everyone seems to have strong opinions about what happens in the Middle East. But when it involves innocent, murdered Israelis, where's the apology of the media, who referred to the hostages as dead civilians who just died in captivity? I know we all know this, and I know we all see it, but we cannot become normalized to living like this every day. What is happening to us is 10 times fold greater than October 7th already. We, as a people, also need to apologize to the over 1,600 victims of October 7th, including the latest 6 hostages. Because we've tried our best, but clearly has not been good enough. And I know we're dealing with a terrorist organization, with Hamas. By the way, when will the United States government insist that they themselves will sit down and negotiate with terrorists like they insist that we do every day? Where? When? This is unprecedented, and we now think it's normal. This is the week that we live through. You know, our Parsha, and I always say there's no coincidences in the Torah, ends with an incredible episode. Something that Moses tells the Bnei Israel could happen, and they have to be prepared. In the event that they discover a body outside the encampment, and they have no idea who killed that person, they cannot just abandon the body. They have to actually take some sort of responsibility. So there's a ritual of the Agla Arufah, a heifer that has never been yoked, that has to be killed and then turned into ashes. And then the elders of the people of Israel show up and say the following words while looking at the corpse. This is very important. Yadeinu lo shafchu et adam hazeh, beineinu lo ra'u. Our hands did not spill this blood, and our eyes did not see who did it. Kaper le'amecha Israel, asher padita Adonai, be'al titen dam naki bekerev amecha Israel, v'nechaper lahem adam. And do not let guilt for the blood of your innocent remain among your people Israel, and they will be absolved of blood guilt. Even Ezra in the Middle Ages commented on this passage, which is really incomprehensible. And he says what's really happening is that we are taught as Jews that we're all responsible. And that's why we feel the way we do. I've spent a week trying to understand, why do I feel responsible? I've done everything I could as a human being. I've spoken out. I've gone to Israel. We've raised money. And I keep telling myself, you haven't done enough. You're an idiot. There's something you missed. And we feel this way because we are instructed by God to feel this way. We need to feel responsible. We should not become regularized to death amongst us, to seeing bodies just drop and us to be insensitive to death and suffering. This is why we feel the way we do. We are taught by our tradition that we have to take responsibility. We know we're fighting evil. And look, I know that Israel's polarized right now. I know. But here's the bottom line. The people that ultimately pulled the trigger and cowardly murdered those hostages were the terrorists. They are responsible. We feel responsible because there's always something that can be done, but we are being shown that really maybe there isn't. Look, the people that we are who live here in Summerlin, in relative affluence and comfort, there's nothing we can't solve. And I was reminded of something my mother used to tell me every time I cried for something that happened, right? They punished me and I cried. They took away my TV watching rights and I cried. I flunked the test and I cried. And she used to say to me, the only thing in life that cannot be fixed, the only thing in life that cannot be solved is death. And this is why we feel the way we do. And we should. You know, Elul is here. And if only we were worthy, if only we truly would be woken up by the blast of the shofar every morning, if we could treat how we change one another, if we could change how we treat one another, if we could change how we relate to God, if we can change the way in which we ask ourselves to be accountable for the things that happen around us, we will be living in a very, very different and much better world. I know the anger. And every time I turn on my TV and I see the thousands of people protesting, my heart goes out to my entire people. But we can't forget. We can't forget that we can just say, you are responsible, and not take any of the responsibility ourselves. Because Sinwar himself, he also watches those protests on TV. And every time that miserable piece of human excrement turns on his screen and watches us tearing each other apart, he understands that he is winning. You know, when you go to Israel, and I've been there again 4 times, since the first time my eye was caught by these signs that say, Yachad Menatzeach, together we will win. One thing is to put it on our windows and display it on our buildings, but the other thing is to actually behave as if we believe that. We need to come together once again, or else evil will flourish and triumph. And in a week of apologies, I want to apologize on behalf of all of us. Not only to these hostages, not only to Carmel, Hirsch, Eden, Almog, Alex, and Ori, but to everyone, the 1,600 people that have died. To our heroic soldiers that risk their lives every day, day in and day out. You know, one of them that we met in a base asked me and Liz if we could actually send them a couple of things they needed. And I said to Liz, you know, I'm tired of raising funds. I can't do it anymore. Well, I apologize. I was wrong. We need to keep on going. We cannot be tired. We cannot be tired. Let me end this morning with the words that open our Haftorah. Anochi, Anochi, umenachemchem. I am he who comforts you, says God. Let us act as if we believe that this is possible. And let our comfort come on not only from God, but from our actions too. Shabbat Shalom.